thanks for the opportunity. And I think you had some electric sessions since morning. And I hope you will enjoy the session too. Can we start? So today we are going to see how to integrate, the art of weaving with science. No, right? Yeah, sure. I think every one of you know what it is. Sorry? Hand weaving, right? It's a pride of our country, isn't it? It's a great cultural heritage which has been passed on from generation to generation for thousands of years. And it is still relevant today. We should think, why such an ancient thing is relevant today? To simply put it, it has got infinite possibilities, that is why it is still relevant today in terms of, bringing out different patterns, designs, structures. It's so relevant today also. Now we all know weaving as a thing which can make beautiful saris and dress materials, and we all love it, right? We all want to dress well, we all want to look good, so I call textiles as a second skin. It's a very integral part of our lives. Well, incidentally, weaving is not just about producing fabrics and saris. It has got much more than meets the eye. Will you believe if I say that hand weaving is the grandmother of all the contemporary science and technology what we witness today? Well, before getting into that, I'm sure Mr. Srivastavaji is wondering, okay, what is he talking about? Is he going to bring a loom to the school? Is it doable? I get you. Yes, it is not doable in this condition of what you are seeing on the loom video. It's definitely not doable because it requires a lot of skills, it requires a lot of knowledge to operate it. But then, it need not stop us from taking it to schools. That's what we have been doing for the past few years with some very modern, simple looms which even children can operate. Now, look at this. She is the 4th grader and very comfortably sitting and weaving on a simple loom. Now, we have the same loom here on the stage. I want to volunteer, any one of you. I'll show you how to weave and you're going to weave. Anybody? Please. Look at this child, how, she's enjoying weaving. It's so easy. We're going to show you how. So you can continue weaving as long as you want, as we are discussing. So it just takes 2 minutes to get you into a rhythm in modern loops like this. And can I have your name, please? Yeah, Ms. Geeta Deshmukh, Probably if you weave about half a meter, we will cut it and give it to you. You can take it home. So it's so easy to weave. It need not be a very complex thing. Of course, they are very different. What you accomplish with the modern looms and what you accomplish with the traditional looms are very, very different. We are not comparing both. For example, if you look at the slide, on the left-hand side, you can see a typical sari, a beautiful sari, which is woven with the traditional weaving. It requires a lot of skills, and as I was telling you, the knowledge is being passed on from generation to generation. And even apprenticeship takes about 3 years for you to really get to start weaving. But on the right side, we see a fabric which is woven on typically this loom. This was woven by a 7th grader. And this is a kind of a contemporary weave structure. It is not, we are not talking about traditional motifs and patterns, but it's a different way. You can use probably a little coarser yarn, not very fine yarns with these kind of looms. You can still make it. The idea is to make something, create something and learn from it rather than actually producing a sari. But of course you can make shawls, cushion covers, placemats, so many things. Some schools are doing it already. We'll come to this slide again a little later. Now here on this slide, you see a complex, a big loom on the left hand side, and on the right you see a computer. What's the connection? Why are we having it in this slide? Anyone? Sorry? Okay. Anybody else? Precisely. The idea of computation, the whole computation came from weaving. That is why I said weaving is the grandmother of all the contemporary science and technology. Interestingly, just to look at a little bit of history of this, the one what you see in the left hand side, it is called a jacquard loom. It was invented in 1804 by one Mr. Jacquard in France, and his thought process was very simple. Now if you look at this loom, there are two sets of yarns which go, alternate sets of yarn go up and down, so you make something called a plain weave. But in a complex motif like what you see in the earlier slide, some set of yarns have to go up, some set of yarns have to stay in the same place for you to create a motif. So this man, Mr. Jacquard, came out with a very interesting mechanism where only certain yarns are lifted. He brought in a mechanism with punch cards with holes in it, and whenever there is there will be feelers. If the feeler gets into the hole, the yarn lifts. If there is no hole, the yarn doesn't lift. Interestingly, he is called the father of binary. So if a yarn goes up, it's 1, stays 0. So that was a simple mechanism with which he simplified the whole process of very complex brocade weaves and stuff. And then from there, I think in 1860s, Charles Babbage came out with the first mechanical computational device based on Jacquard's system. And with the advent of electromagnetism in the 20th century, we have modern computers later on. I should narrate a very interesting story here. When I did my engineering in Anna University in late 80s, we were taught computer programming, but unfortunately our college didn't have a personal computer in the classes. We had a centralized computing station. We were taught the language called Fortran. I don't know if it is still taught, Fortran. And to learn Fortran, we used punch card mechanisms. There were some kind of typewriters where we had the punch card. We punch the holes, and then every line of the code there's a card, and then you collate them and give it to an operator. He will feed it to the computer, and you get the results by evening. That's the way we learned Fortran computing. Now, interestingly, this punch card, what I'm talking about, which we still use in late 80s, was invented for weaving by Mr. Jacquard in 1804. So that is the history of things. So weaving is something, it is not just aesthetics. It's much more than that. You can link all the computation science and everything with that. Anybody else would like to try weaving? It can go parallelly. Anyone? Please. Please. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. So we have taken these looms to some of the schools already, and we have successfully implemented a program where we are not focusing on making products, we are focusing more on integrating different subjects with weaving. Now, let's watch a small video.
Have you ever wondered what sound would look like if it was woven? What if you could weave science? Well, we embarked on a very interesting experiment with 3 learners, Mitra, Maitreyi and Meera.
We started with a small briefing session for our 8th graders from the weaving program. We briefed them about the nature of sound waves, the rarefaction and the compression. Our goal was simple yet profound: to assist the kids visualize sound waves without any prior textual or visual references. After a small debriefing session, we decided to compare the results. And despite the impromptu nature of the activity, the results were fascinating. This by Maitreyi, this by Mitra, and finally, this was Meera's interpretation.
Now, if you look at these results, interestingly, the center one, let's take the center one, Mitra, she has captured the essence of sound as a compression, a series of compression and rarefactions. On the right, you can see Maitreyi. So she had used a different kind of a color at the bottom. So we asked her, why did you use another color? She said, oh yeah, the sound thing, a surface, hot surface, so I'm changing the color. And on the left, you can see a very different, depiction of sound wave by Meera, where she had used a lot of different textures of yarns for the compression and different colors for rarefaction. When we asked, why did you do that? She says the sound is traveling through different medium. Remember, all these are 8th graders, and we never said how to weave or what colors to use, nothing. All we did was show them how to weave, like what we are showing here. You get to weave in 2 minutes, and then it's your imagination. So you get to think on what to do, and you start doing it. Now every result is different. So the child gets an opportunity to explore and understand the way they want it, and they come out with their own interesting results. This is another example where we connect material science with weaving. So what we do is it's a very important exercise which is appreciated by almost all the schools where we work with. We supply materials like cotton, jute, polyesters, silk, nylon, linens, wools, all those stuff. And the children get an opportunity to wind the yarn, they touch and feel the yarn, and then they start weaving maybe 3-4 inches of every material. Now, the teacher has the ability to connect a lot of things through this. For example, what is natural material, what is synthetic, what is petrochemical, what is biodegradable, what is sustainable, where does cotton grow, how do you get the wool from sheep? There are so many things. In fact, in one of the schools, what they did was the teacher gave an assignment to different students, and she asked everyone to prepare about an individual material. And next day there was a beautiful collaborative meeting. So the students exchange their ideas and they exchange their knowledge. So a lot of peer-to-peer learning happens there. This is another example, one of my favorites. It's the Fibonacci sequence. You can always argue if it is a math or a science. Well, I think world over there is a rivalry between scientists and mathematicians who owns Fibonacci. Because I think his principles are applied more in science than in math. So if you look at this particular one, this again is a beautiful depiction. This was done by an 8th grader. See how cleverly she has run this Fibonacci. On the left hand side you can see she has taken 2 colors. One is the purple and it's the black. On the left hand side you can see the purple is running from 1, 1, 2, 3, the series follows. On the right side she has run the black running from bottom to top, the reverse order. And it gives such a beautiful pattern. And see, the idea is, this is giving an opportunity for the student to understand science is not a dry subject. It can be a visual representation. It can be a very engaging activity. And it also helps them have a long-term retention of what they read. So there are so many examples like that. Now I showed this to you a few slides back along with the traditional fabric. This was again another very interesting work done by a 7th grader in a school. As you know, all the letters, the alphabet is represented by binary codes. That's the way it is done in even a computer keypad. So the student actually took two colors, 0 as yellow and red as 1. And she started weaving a sequence of words. So she has woven, my teacher is the best. Isn't it wonderful? So it's easy to do, and it is the originality of the child which comes out with these kind of programs. Now, let's look at how this happens. I read through the CBSE Manual of Art Integration. It was very, very interesting, a lot of profound statements in that. One of the things which I really liked is emphasis should be given to learning rather than teaching, and the approach should be participatory, interactive, and experiential rather than instructive. I think it is a fantastically put statement. So if you look at it, break it into codes, emphasis should be given to learning rather than teaching. So if you are able to take the program, whatever we do, as a child-centric approach than a teacher-centric approach, I think there is a possibility of taking it forward in a little easier way. The integration is not easy, but when we make it child-centric, it's possible a little easier to do it. And second thing is experiential rather than instructive. So I think the teacher should become a facilitator. The teacher need not know it all. If we move from that platform, if the teacher becomes a facilitator and the child learns by himself or herself, I think it's doable. So the advantages of child-centric approaches, majorly, as you know, today everybody was talking about the attention deficit and the focus is not there. I think some of the studies say that we have the focus of less than goldfish today, 7.5 seconds and stuff like that. So this seems to be a major trouble, not only for children, even for adults. So all of us, right? So at least let's say the next generation. So we need to have some activity. When we do a hands-on activity, the focus improves. Weaving is not an activity which you can think about something and do. No way. You cannot do it. So you need to focus, you need to stay there, right? You are in the zone and it improves your attention span at a big level. And of course it increases, it encourages original thinking, like what we saw sometime back in the depiction of sound exercise. Everybody comes out with their own original and authentic idea. And that makes learning very enjoyable and collaborative. And again, the focus is teacher as a facilitator, because teacher need not become an artist, need not become a weaver, because the tools are easy, the system is easy, so you can do it. So we already done it in about 11 schools so far, and it has been doing really well, and we piloted for about 3 years. In addition to the possibility of interconnecting art and science and math and other things with weaving, there are also other key takeaways. One is, of course, as I was telling you, the focus and attention span. And another very important thing is today we are in a consumeristic culture where there's a lot of use and throw culture. Right? We don't really value our material possession. But when we start making it our own hands, create something, even if it is a small piece, maybe the kind of things what they make in a school, we typically convert them into a small pouch or maybe a pencil box or maybe a sling bag, whatever. So when they do that, they start appreciating the value of materials. And it helps them really even in understanding our great culture of weaving or any art form or craft form also, because they make it with their hands, right? So this is about the program here. And typically the implementation process, we train the teachers. It hardly takes about 5 minutes for you to start learning. So the training program involves more of how to integrate rather than weaving itself. And the teachers show the weaving to children. And then you can devise your own lesson plans, and you can come up with your ideas, and different teachers can say, hey, come on, there is a loom there, would you like to try something, maybe a principle of math or a physics or a chemistry or anything. And I'm sure the children being so creative, they'll come out with their own ideas and you can have a fantastic conversation. So these are some of the schools. Let's listen to one school where they implemented it in a nice way.
Welcome to our weaving program, a unique initiative where students not only learn the art of weaving, but also integrate concepts from multiple subjects to enhance their overall learning experience. Our weaving program is designed for students aged 8 to 13, introducing them to the basics of textile art. But it doesn't stop there. This program goes beyond weaving by weaving in elements of mathematics, science, and even history and culture. Students apply mathematical concepts like measurement, symmetry, and pattern recognition, helping them understand abstract concepts in a practical setting. In science, students explore properties of fibers, learn about natural versus synthetic materials, and even experiment with dyeing techniques, an exploration that nurtures their curiosity. Through weaving, students delve into the history and culture of different regions, understanding the stories behind traditional patterns and their significance. Hear from our students and teachers how weaving has broadened their perspectives and supported learning in unexpected ways. Our weaving program goes beyond traditional art education, making learning a multidimensional and enriching experience. We believe that every thread woven is a step towards deeper understanding and creative expression.
Here I have used two colors, black and blue, and I have created a rhythm which is a repeated pattern. Now here I have put two blue, one black, two blue, two black, and it keeps on going.
You have been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. So if who wants to try their hand in loom, we have a few more looms in the next hall, so they can always try. You won't miss it. Thanks a lot.